may catch you off guard if your partner wants to do this. Don't shut it down right away. Explore it. See if it's something that you can do.
Okay, we are live.
We're live?
We're live.
All right. Hello and welcome.
Welcome.
So today we're going to share how we came to the decision to birth at home, or how I came to that decision and how he felt about it and accepted it eventually, and then the story of the birth, and then maybe a little bit of the aftermath of it.
What our thoughts are if we had a second child, and would we do it again?
Yeah, he's gonna do it the next time, but so when I found out I was pregnant, I was already a couple of months along. So when I decided to look into options for birthing, my first thought was, oh, a birth house. Like, that would be kind of a good alternative to a hospital, and there's a couple of birth centers in our area. However, because I was too far along, they didn't have any room at the birth centers in our area, and I felt like, okay, when I'm in labor, I don't want to get in the car and drive a half an hour to an hour to a birth center. I kind of at that point just settled on the hospital, and we actually went and toured the hospital together. They have like big birthing tubs and big rooms and stuff, but I just did not want to go to the hospital. I knew that. So about halfway through the pregnancy, I went to what's called Meet the Doula Night, where a bunch of doulas in the area gather together and talk about their services and just different perspectives on birth. And a lot of the women in attendance were gonna birth at home. We were going around talking about it. I was like, maybe that's an option. I hadn't even thought about it. I ended up getting a midwife and going with a home birth. So it kind of was like my options narrowed and narrowed and narrowed until I got there, rather than it just came to mind or whatever.
Mace was not very excited to give birth in a hospital. Especially some of the rooms were inside with no natural light. It kind of felt more like a cave than an actual...
They were a cave. Yeah, they were in the basement.
Yeah. My initial thought was, when we found out she was pregnant, was, oh, of course we're gonna give birth at a hospital. That's just what everyone does. When she first brought up the idea of a home birth, I was actually my initial thought was, no way. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on. Really what made me turn around was when we picked a midwife and I met her. The whole process wasn't weird, and that was the big thing for me, is that there was nothing that I felt was out of control or was very clear cut. We knew exactly what we needed to do. Instead of sitting on the sidelines, I was able to set up the pool and get things ready at our house, and that was really exciting, to kind of be a part of the process instead of just sitting there and doing nothing.
Yeah, I think that was the coolest part, was seeing how much he got to be involved in the birth and actually was helping me through every contraction and felt her head come out. Then she went right to you as my placenta was being birthed. So yeah, we can kind of transition into the birth story a little bit. I went into labor in the middle of the night. I regularly got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, so I got up to go to the bathroom and thought I was just going to the bathroom, and then had my first contraction. And the first thought was, they always tell you to try to rest in early labor, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go lay back down. But then I had my second and I was like, oh, there's gonna be no laying down the rest of the night. So I worked through the first few at the end of the bed, and then I moved to the bathroom, and at that point he had woken up from hearing me start to...
Yeah, I mean, you were basically
yelling
and breathing through the contractions, and as soon as I heard that, I knew that the time had arrived, and so I got up and started getting everything ready. Called the midwife, and she immediately came down. Probably from the time that your first contraction, she was there within maybe an hour and a half.
I have no idea.
we called within about 30-40 minutes of us calling her, she was there.
Yeah, she was really quick.
So,
and what I didn't know at the time, because in the way I had studied birth, I had this mindset of passive labor versus active labor, which is how most labors progress. So it's a long time where you're passively having these contractions every hour or so, and they're very gentle, and your body's kind of preparing you for labor. My body went straight into active labor. My contractions were a minute apart and 30 seconds long, literally from the beginning. So actually when he woke up and came into the bathroom, I had him start timing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started timing them, and then when I told the midwife, she was like, okay, I'm coming down right away.
Well, and so this was all within an hour and a half of me waking up. Like, I had literally been asleep an hour and a half before. And I remember when I woke up and had my first one, I texted my mom and said, hey, I think things have started, but I know labors are usually long, so just be on alert, but go back to sleep. Or if you're going to come over, bring your pillow. And then I called my midwife and said something similar, like, I think I've just started. Again, I had this mentality of passive labor. I was like, oh, for a few hours, I'm going to be doing my own thing. But it literally went straight in. By the time the midwife got there, I was 7 centimeters dilated, which if you know about the birthing process, once you get to 10, you can start pushing. Yeah, by the time the midwife got there, I was in what they call transition, where you're fully dilated, you're getting ready to push. And at that point, John had filled up the tub. Labor progressed in the tub.
Yeah, the midwife arrived, and then it was a relatively short labor process. It was 5 hours.
Yeah, so I woke up at 2 a.m. with my first contraction, and she was born by 7 a.m., so it was less than 5 hours.
Yeah.
Mom got there, and she was actually the one helping me through my contractions at first. She was pressing on my hips and massaging my back, but I quickly realized that I was going to need someone stronger to help me, which was funny because we hadn't practiced anything, we hadn't talked about anything, but he just immediately started doing it. Like, I felt like I couldn't have gotten through unless I had had him doing that.
There was a couple times I was a little worried because obviously we're doing a home birth. There's no, pain relievers and whatnot, and so you're kind of trying to use natural pressure points and to relieve the pain. And there was a couple times that were pretty hard on you,
but the water was a game changer, absolute
Yeah.
game changer. We had a tub in our bedroom, and we hung a hose from the shower to the tub and filled it up with hot water. And did you guys keep filling it?
We started it pretty warm, and we filled it up, and then just left it as that.
Epsom salt in it as well.
And one thing to keep in mind is that regardless of what hospital you go to, generally they're not going to let you birth in the tub. I'm a big water guy. I know how relaxing the water is, and without doing any sort of pain relievers, I knew that she would need everything that she could, get a hold of in order to relieve the pain.
It was funny. I remember asking in the hospital if I could labor in the tub, and they were like, "Oh, certainly, but when you go to actually push, you'll need to get out of the tub." And I'm thinking,
You wouldn't have been able to do that.
yeah, when I have a baby's head crowning, I'm going to lift my leg over the tub and waddle to the
I don't know how they expect. They probably have to drag people out.
I remember the nurse being like, "Some people have given birth in the tub," and I was like, "Yeah, that's gonna be me." But my midwife did say once we got to the final pushing, she was like, "You either need to give birth underwater or above water. Like, you can't have her halfway out and then get up. She needs to be one or the other." And so I decided I was like in the water. The pushing I kind of did. I mean, I don't know how you would help that, but you didn't. Once I was pushing, you didn't really help me on the contractions anymore. The pain really subsided a lot once I got to the pushing. That felt good after everything. And then the final push, I kind of rolled over onto my back, and he was behind me. And then Shannon, the midwife, helped pull her out and on my chest.
I touched her head as it was coming out, which was really special. Especially having a water birth where you see your child just emerge out of the water, and our daughter was born with eyes wide open, which was really, it was really special. She looked straight into our eyes right off the bat, and she was actually awake for about 2 hours afterwards.
One of the benefits of not drugging yourself during labor is that your baby is not drugged, so when they come out, they're most of the time very interactive. And yeah, Selah was awake almost the whole day.
Yeah.
Staring at us.
Yep. And we've had a hard time napping her since. No, I'm sure.
If you want to get your baby to nap, maybe drugs are the way. I'm just kidding. I do remember passing her off to him because my placenta was being birthed. And that took a little bit of time.
Yeah, and I held her because she was born in water. I held her with her slightly at an incline where her head was down, so that way she can drain any liquids. But we pulled her out pretty quickly, so she didn't get too much fluids down her neck or her throat. and into her lungs. She drained pretty quickly, and she's absolutely perfect. You couldn't have asked for anything better. And it was also really nice being able to, for Mace, be able to transition her straight into her own bed. You know, the midwife and her assistant cleaned everything up.
I sat in bed like a queen.
Yeah. She wanted a snack, I can go to the kitchen and grab something for her. It was just nice, like having the comfort of your home.
We weren't thinking, oh, when are we gonna leave? When can I get home and be in my own bed? We literally birthed her on the floor beneath our bed, and then I stepped over the tub, got out, and laid in the bed.
Yeah.
I did tear a little bit, and my midwife was able to stitch me up right there. Yeah, so we sat in bed the rest of the day. Like he said, they cleaned up everything. We just kind of watched them and took everything and left.
Yeah.
And there were a few follow-up visits with my midwife. She came to the house, I think, 2 or 3 times after that in the next
About
week.
2 times, yeah.
And then Sayla and I went to go see her twice again as well for follow-up. I think I would have liked a little bit more support in the form of like maybe a postpartum doula or someone that would have helped me with breastfeeding a little bit more. But my midwife did help me with that, so that was good.
And if we would do it again, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about doing a home birth, I definitely highly recommend it. Definitely have a midwife there though. Having the midwife there was really helpful for me to be at ease, because if we were just doing a free birth, I wouldn't know what's normal blood loss and what is something to worry about. You know, when I should tell her, hey, you need to push, you need to relax. Like I'm not trained in any of that. Sure,
For
I
your
could
first time, it's so much unknown that you almost need a medical professional there.
Yeah.
I would say, though, be very well acquainted with your medical professional. My midwife, who I had seen 10 to 15 times before the birth, brought a medical assistant with her, someone in training. And I remember subconsciously, like, I would be in the tub or wherever I was looking for her because I didn't know her, and it felt, I didn't like it. So I would say make sure that if you are going to have a medical professional, that you've at least met them and had a conversation with them, because when you're in that primordial state where you're trying to birth a baby, you don't want to be thinking about who's in the room, and I was thinking about this stranger in the room. So yeah, I would just get to know the medical professional if you choose to have one. The beauty of experiencing Sayla untouched by anyone else, really, and in our own home was, yeah, just unreal. I'm glad that situation of the birth house and not wanting to go to the hospital actually led us to this.
And from my perspective, you know, as the man and someone who's supporting, if your partner is keen to do a home birth in any way, you know, definitely just be open to it. You know, give it some thought. You know, you may be uncomfortable with it, but definitely explore it. You know, don't shut it down right away. Even though at first I was against it, I realized that I'm not the one who's giving birth, so it's not really my place to say, like, no, you can't do it here, you need to do it here. My goal in the process was to weigh in and provide my 2 cents, but to really, I ultimately wanted you to be comfortable, and that was my focus. And when she was dead set on a home birth, I still had reservations about it, but I met the midwife. I went through a little bit of the process with you, and then that's what put me at ease. So don't shut it down right away. You know, explore it. You know, see if it's something that you can do.
And you were a great partner through it all. You really were. So that's that. The male perspective, how we arrived at home birth, and how the home birth went. Hope that was helpful.